2026. Most people will wake up exactly the same way they did last year. The question is, will you? This one is the strongest because it's universal, reflective, and confrontational without being aggressive. It pulls the audience inward immediately and sets up the message about choice, discipline, and mornings perfectly. Ladies and gentlemen, let me say something that might make you uncomfortable because truth usually does. Your bed is not just a place of rest for most people. It's a graveyard for ideas, a graveyard for potential, a graveyard for dreams that were supposed to change families, communities, and generations. Every morning there's a battle, not between you and the world, but between who you are and who you could become. And that battle happens the moment your alarm goes off. See, most people think success is about talent. It's not. They think it's about luck. It's not. They think it's about motivation. It's not. Success is about discipline, and discipline is forged early in the morning. Because when you wake up early, you are making a statement. You're saying, my future is more important than my comfort. My purpose is bigger than my feelings. My dreams deserve my best hours, not my leftovers. The early morning doesn't reward the gifted. It rewards the committed. While others are sleeping, winners are building. While others are dreaming in their beds, winners are executing in real life. And here's the truth most people don't want to hear. If you can't control your morning, you will never control your money, your time, or your destiny. Every time you hit the snooze button, you're not just delaying sleep, you're delaying growth. You're delaying opportunity. You were delaying the person you said you wanted to become, and delayed dreams. Don't stay alive forever. They eventually die quietly under warm blankets and excuses. Your future doesn't need you to feel ready. It needs you to decide. Decide to wake up early. Decide to do the hard things first. Decide to invest in yourself before the world starts demanding from you. Because the people who win in life don't wait for perfect conditions. They create them before sunrise. So tomorrow morning when that alarm goes off, remember this. Your bed is comfortable, but nothing great has ever been built there. Wake up early, get up hungry, and refuse to let your dreams die where you sleep. The bed feels innocent, it feels safe, it feels earned. After a long day, it welcomes you without resistance. It doesn't demand anything from you. It doesn't challenge you. It doesn't ask who you're becoming or where you're going. And that's exactly why it's dangerous, because comfort never argues with you, but it quietly negotiates your future away. The bed represents more than rest. It represents the place where discipline is delayed and purpose is postponed. It is where good intentions go to sleep and often never wake up. People don't fail because they lack dreams. They fail because they fall in love with comfort. And the bed is the most socially accepted form of comfort in the world. No one questions it. No one challenges it. Yet day after day, it steals hours that were meant for growth, learning, planning, and execution. Potential is fragile. It doesn't scream when ignored. It doesn't force itself into your routine. It waits. And when you choose comfort over commitment repeatedly, potential slowly suffocates. Not in one dramatic moment, but through small daily decisions that feel harmless. One extra hour of sleep, one more snooze, one more morning pushed to tomorrow. And tomorrow becomes next week. Next week becomes next year. Before you know it, years have passed, and the life you imagine feels distant, unrealistic, almost foreign. The tragedy is that most people don't lose their dreams in public failure. They lose them in private comfort, in warm blankets, in dark rooms, in mornings where nothing is demanded of them. The bed becomes a silent accomplice to mediocrity. It whispers, "You deserve rest," even when you haven't yet built anything worth resting from. It convinces you that staying where you are is safer than becoming who you're meant to be. Growth requires discomfort. Progress requires resistance. Success requires you to get up before you feel ready. And the bed stands directly in opposition to all of that. It trains your mind to obey feelings instead of vision. It teaches you to prioritize what feels good now over what will matter later. Over time, that mindset doesn't just affect your mornings. It affects your finances, your relationships, your health, and your confidence. Because if you can't command yourself to rise when it's hard, how will you command yourself to persist when life gets harder? Every extra moment spent in comfort is a moment not spent in construction. You are either building your future or you are buffering yourself from it. The bed doesn't destroy potential loudly. It does it quietly, patiently, consistently. It waits for you to choose it again and again until ambition weakens and excuses grow stronger. This isn't about eliminating rest. Rest is necessary, but rest without intention becomes retreat. And retreat repeated daily becomes a lifestyle. The difference between high performers and everyone else is not talent. It's tolerance for discomfort. They understand that the most valuable hours of the day are the ones most people sleep through. They understand that comfort is a reward, not a habit. Your potential needs space, time, and action to breathe. And every morning you stay longer than necessary in your comfort zone, you deny it oxygen. The bed will never tell you that. It will never warn you. It will only keep you comfortable while your possibilities quietly expire. Comfort feels good, but it costs too much. Early morning is not about the clock, it's about control. It's the first test of the day, the moment where intention meets resistance. Before the world starts making demands, before messages, noise, and expectations flood your mind, the early morning asks a simple but revealing question: who's in charge? Your vision or your feelings? Discipline is born in that answer. When you wake up early, you are practicing self-command. You are teaching your mind that comfort does not get the final vote. Most people wait until they feel motivated to act, but discipline understands something deeper. Feelings are unreliable leaders. The early morning strips away excuses because there is no applause, no audience, and no immediate reward. It's just you, your commitment, and the quiet responsibility to show up anyway. Discipline doesn't come from intensity, it comes from consistency. And nothing builds consistency faster than a controlled morning. The early hours are neutral territory. No emergencies yet, no distractions pulling you in 10 directions. It's the cleanest mental environment you'll get all day. That's why habits built in the morning tend to stick. Your willpower is fresh, your focus is sharp, and your identity is still forming for the day. Each early morning you win rewires your self-image. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries and start seeing yourself as someone who does. That shift is powerful. Discipline isn't just about behavior, it's about belief. Once you believe you are disciplined, your actions begin to align naturally. But that belief has to be earned, and early mornings are where it's proven. There is also a compounding effect most people overlook. One disciplined morning leads to a more intentional day. An intentional day leads to better decisions. Better decisions lead to better outcomes. Over time, those outcomes reshape your life. The early morning may look small, but it's a lever. Move it consistently and it moves everything else. The early morning also humbles you. It forces you to confront yourself without distractions. No scrolling, no numbing, no hiding, just clarity. And clarity is uncomfortable because it exposes gaps between where you are and where you say you want to be. Discipline grows when you stop running from that discomfort and start using it as fuel. People often say they want freedom, but freedom is a byproduct of discipline, not the absence of it. The early morning is where that paradox becomes real. You restrict yourself from extra sleep, from indulgence, from ease, not to suffer, but to earn control over your time, your energy, and your direction. The disciplined morning creates a disciplined life. While others wake up reacting, the disciplined wake up creating. They don't start the day behind, they start it ahead. That advantage compounds quietly, day after day, until the results are undeniable. Success rarely announces where it came from, but it almost always traces back to structured mornings and disciplined starts. Early morning doesn't guarantee success, but without it, discipline remains a theory. With it, discipline becomes a practice. And practice daily, it becomes a permanent part of who you are. Dreams sound inspiring when spoken, but they are demanding when pursued. Everyone loves the idea of a better future, but very few people are willing to pay for it in advance, because that's what sacrifice before sunrise really is. Payment up front with no guarantee and no applause. Long before results show up, dreams ask for something far more uncomfortable than hope. They ask for obedience when it would be easier to sleep. Before sunrise, life is honest. There are no crowds to impress, no recognition to chase, no external pressure forcing you to move. The only reason to get up is because you decided your future matters more than your present comfort. That decision is the first sacrifice. It's not dramatic. It's quiet, but it's costly. You trade warmth for work, ease for effort, comfort for commitment. Most people wait until circumstances force them to change. Dreams don't work that way. Dreams require voluntary sacrifice. They demand that you give up something now for something you cannot yet see. Extra sleep, late nights that serve no purpose, mornings wasted on distraction. These sacrifices seem small in isolation, but they add up to the difference between intention and execution. Sacrifice before sunrise is also a test of belief. If you truly believe in what you're building, you'll protect time for it even when no one is watching. The early morning becomes sacred ground, not because it's magical, but because it's uncontested. No one is fighting you for those hours. The only opposition is your own desire to stay comfortable. And that's the hardest opponent to beat. Dreams die not because people are incapable, but because they are unwilling to endure inconvenience for long enough. Everyone wants transformation, but few want the tension that comes before it. That tension lives in early mornings. It lives in choosing progress over pleasure, in starting tired, in showing up imperfect but present. There's also humility and sacrifice. Before sunrise, ego is stripped away. You're not posting about it. You're not being praised for it. You're simply doing the work because it needs to be done. That humility strengthens character. And strong character is what carries dreams through inevitable setbacks, delays, and doubts. What makes sacrifice powerful is not its size, but its consistency. One early morning won't change your life. Hundreds of them will. Each one is a brick. Alone, they seem insignificant. Together, they build the foundation your dreams require to stand. Skip too many, and the structure weakens no matter how beautiful the vision was. People often say they don't have time for their dreams. What they usually mean is they haven't decided what they're willing to give up. Time is created through sacrifice. Before sunrise, time isn't stolen, it's claimed. Claimed from comfort, claimed from excuses, claimed from the version of yourself that prefers ease over excellence. Dreams don't need perfection, they need priority. And nothing proves priority like sacrifice when it's inconvenient, when you're tired, when it's dark, when the bed is calling you back. Getting up anyway sends a message, not just to the world, but to yourself, that this dream is real enough to suffer for. Sacrifice before sunrise is where dreams stop being fantasies and start becoming responsibilities. And once you accept that responsibility daily, quietly, consistently, your dreams no longer depend on luck. They begin to depend on you. Winners don't wait for motivation because they understand a truth most people never learn. Motivation is a reaction, not a requirement. Feelings are inconsistent, unreliable, and heavily influenced by comfort, mood, and circumstance. If action depends on feeling ready, progress will always be delayed. That's why winners decide first. They commit before emotions get a vote. Decision is an act of authority. It's the moment you tell your mind, this is happening whether you like it or not. Motivation asks, do I feel like it today? Decision says, this is who I am now. That difference changes everything. Winners don't wake up hoping to feel inspired. They wake up knowing what must be done, and they move whether inspiration shows up or not. Most people confuse motivation with discipline. Motivation is emotional. Discipline is structural. Motivation comes and goes. Discipline stays. Winners build their lives around decisions, not moods. They decide to wake up early. They decide to train. They decide to study. They decide to execute. And once the decision is made, debate ends. There is no daily negotiation with comfort. What people don't realize is that motivation often follows action, not the other way around. Movement creates momentum. Momentum creates confidence. Confidence creates motivation. But none of that starts until a decision is enforced. Winners understand this sequence. They don't wait to feel powerful to act. They act until power shows up. Deciding before motivation also removes mental fatigue. When you repeatedly ask yourself whether you should do something, you drain energy. Winners eliminate that drain by pre-deciding. There's no question of if, only when. This clarity frees mental space for execution instead of internal argument. There's also identity involved. Every decision you keep reinforces who you believe you are. When you decide to act despite resistance, you strengthen the identity of someone who follows through. Over time, that identity becomes automatic. Action stops feeling heroic and starts feeling normal. That's how consistency is built, not through bursts of inspiration, but through enforced decisions. Waiting for motivation is comfortable because it gives you an excuse. You're not quitting, you're just not feeling it today. But winners don't protect excuses, they protect outcomes. They understand that feelings change faster than circumstances, and if they let feelings lead, progress stalls. D. Deciding early, especially before the day begins, creates a psychological advantage. You're no longer reacting to life, you're directing it. That sense of control fuels confidence. Confidence reduces resistance. Resistance is what kills motivation in the first place. So by deciding early, winners indirectly create more motivation than those who chase it. The hard truth is that most breakthroughs happen on days when motivation is low. Those are the days when decision matters most. Anyone can act when they feel inspired. Winners separate themselves by acting when they don't. That's where the gap is created. That's where results compound. Decisions shape destiny because they remove dependence on emotion, and the person who can act independently of how they feel will always outperform the person who can't. Winners decide, then they move. Motivation eventually catches up, but by then, the work is already done. Your life does not change in dramatic moments as often as people think. It changes quietly, through patterns repeated so often they become invisible. Morning habits are some of the most powerful of those patterns, because they don't just shape what you do. They shape who you believe you are. Before the world interacts with you, your morning teaches you how to interact with yourself. The way you start your day sets the tone for your identity. When you wake up and immediately give in to distraction, delay, or comfort, you reinforce the belief that your time is not valuable and your goals are optional. But when you wake up with intention, even in small ways, you send a different message that you are someone who acts on purpose, not impulse. Over time, that message becomes an internal truth. Identity is not built through motivation, it's built through evidence. Every morning habit is a piece of evidence you submit to your mind about who you are. If the evidence consists, NTLI shows discipline, focus, and follow through, your identity shifts to match it. You don't try to be disciplined, you believe you are. And once identity changes, behavior becomes easier because you're no longer forcing actions that feel foreign. Morning habits are especially powerful because your mind is most impressionable at the start of the day. Before stress, before noise, before comparison, your actions speak loudly. What you do first becomes a reference point. If that reference point is intentional, the rest of the day aligns more naturally. If it's chaotic or passive, the day often follows that same pattern. People underestimate how quickly habits become character. One productive morning won't redefine you, but hundreds of them will. The repetition compounds quietly. The version of you that shows up early, prepares, learns, and executes starts to feel familiar. The version that procrastinates and reacts starts to feel uncomfortable. That internal shift is identity taking shape. Your future self is not created by occasional breakthroughs, but by consistent mornings. The confidence you want, the clarity you admire in others, the self-respect you feel is missing, those qualities are developed in routine moments no one applauds. When you honor your mornings, you honor your future. Morning habits also influence how you respond to pressure. Someone who begins the day with structure is less likely to crumble when chaos shows up. Discipline practiced early becomes resilience later. You don't rise to challenges randomly. You respond based on who you've trained yourself to be each morning. Many people try to change their identity by changing big things, new jobs, new environments, new goals. But identity responds faster to small, repeated actions. The morning is the easiest place to install those actions because it's predictable. The sun rises, the alarm goes off. That opportunity is consistent. What changes is your response. Your mornings are a mirror. They reflect what you value, what you tolerate, and what you expect from yourself. And whatever you repeatedly expect from yourself becomes your identity. Change the morning, and you begin to change the person living the rest of the day. You don't wake up one day as your future self. You build that person habit by habit, morning by morning. And eventually, the life you once imagined feels normal. because the identity required to live it has already been formed. The snooze button looks harmless. It promises just a few more minutes of comfort, a small delay that feels insignificant, but it's never just about sleep. Every time you hit snooze, you are casting a vote, not with words, but with action. And that vote quietly says that your present comfort matters more than your future progress. No one intends to sabotage their future. It happens indirectly, through tiny decisions repeated so often they feel normal. The snooze button trains you to delay instead of decide. It conditions your mind to negotiate with resistance rather than command it. You tell yourself you'll get up soon, but what you're really practicing is hesitation. And hesitation repeated daily becomes a habit that spills into every area of life. The problem isn't the extra minutes of rest. It's the message you send yourself in those minutes. You're teaching your brain that commitments are flexible, that discomfort can be postponed, that urgency is optional. Over time, that lesson hardens into identity. You don't just snooze alarms. You snooze opportunities, goals, and hard conversations. You delay the work that would move your life forward, always convincing yourself you'll do it later. Later is dangerous because it feels responsible. It doesn't sound like quitting. It sounds reasonable. But futures aren't destroyed B. Reckless decisions, they're eroded by reasonable delays. Each snooze reinforces a pattern of avoidance, and patterns shape outcomes far more than intentions ever will. The snooze button also robs you of momentum. The first decision of the day sets your psychological posture. When you win that moment by getting up immediately, you build confidence. You start the day with proof that you can do hard things. But when you lose it, even slightly, you begin the day behind. You're already reacting instead of leading. That deficit often follows you into your work, your focus, and your discipline. What makes this habit especially costly is how invisible its consequences are. You don't feel your future slipping away in real time. There's no alarm that sounds when potential is delayed. The damage shows up years later when people wonder why they're capable of more than they're experiencing. They look for big reasons, but the truth often traces back to small, repeated acts of self-betrayal that began each morning. Every time you choose not to snooze, you are voting in favor of discipline, growth, and self-respect. You're reinforcing the belief that when you say you'll do something, you follow through, even when it's uncomfortable. That belief compounds into confidence. Confidence compounds into action. Action compounds into results. The opposite is also true. This isn't about perfection, it's about direction. One snooze won't ruin your life, but a lifestyle of snoozing will quietly cap it. You can't consistently choose ease and expect excellence. The future you want requires daily alignment, and mornings are where that alignment is tested first. The snooze button is a decision point disguised as a convenience. Press it often enough, and you train yourself to choose short-term relief over long-term reward. Resist it consistently, and you begin to build a future that reflects discipline instead of delay. Your future is being voted on every morning. The question isn't whether the vote matters. It's whether you're paying attention when you cast it. In the end, this message is not about waking up early for the sake of a schedule. It's about waking up to responsibility. It's about recognizing that the life you want is not built in grand moments of inspiration, but in quiet, disciplined decisions made when no one is watching. Your future is shaped long before the world sees your results. It's shaped in the dark, in the early hours, in the moments where comfort asks you to stay and purpose asks you to rise. You don't need a new year, a new plan, or perfect conditions. You need a decision to stop negotiating with the version of yourself that prefers ease over growth, a decision to protect your mornings as if your future depends on them, because it does. When you change how you start your day, you change how you show up for your life. Remember this, success is rarely about doing extraordinary things once. It's about doing ordinary things with discipline, repeatedly. Waking up early is not the goal. Becoming the person who follows through is. And that person is built one morning at a time. So tomorrow, when the alarm goes off, don't just wake up. Stand up for your future. Choose progress over comfort. Choose discipline over delay. Because the life you want is waiting for the version of you who's willing to get out of bed and go build it.